Hi, ito po si Art. Kamusta na po sa inyong lahat diyan? Ating po pag-uusapan itong pagkaka-withdraw diyan sa Afghanistan na talagang hindi maganda ang nangyari dito. At dito rin kaya ito nagkaroon din ng mga gera-gera dito sa buong mundo dahil ng pagkaka-withdraw dito sa Afghanistan. Talagang nakita ang kahinaan ng administrasyon ni Biden na ito. At yung mga inflation, lahat-lahat dito nag-umpisa sa Afghanistan. Panoodin po natin.
The White House spending a lot of time in today's briefing blaming the previous administration for the botched Afghanistan withdrawal. Watch.
But while it was always the president's intent to end that war, it is also undeniable that decisions made and the lack of planning done by the previous administration.
Yung lack of planning done, hindi naman nasinunod yung plano na talagang, yung plano ni Trump dito eh. Ituloy po natin.
Significantly limited options available to him.
Mike Pompeo was Secretary of State in that administration. He joins me now. Secretary Pompeo, this has got to be somewhat stunning to you, being involved in that. And I just want to read this because this jumped out at me. In this quoting here, the previous administration provided no plans for how to conduct the final withdrawal. Your thoughts on this report, sir?
Well, Trace, I'm not stunned because the Biden administration has consistently tried to blame
This is Pompeo, former Secretary of State nung ito po kay Trump na Secretary of State. Pero ituloy natin.
Someone else for every failure that they've had in these 2 years where they're leaving Americans more at risk today than when they came into office 2 years ago. I am outraged. I am outraged by the fact that the 13 Americans that were killed there didn't have to happen, and President Biden made the political decision to announce the date of withdrawal, to publicize it, and then to withdraw in spite of the fact that the military clearly had told him that that was a likely outcome. I don't know what they're talking about. I was the CIA director. I was in the middle of all of this. The military for our entire 4 years made very clear to us that if we withdrew too hastily, that if we publicly announced a date of withdrawal, that precisely what you just saw happen in the summer of 21 would likely happen. It was a reasonably likely outcome. And for Kirby to stand there today to say, gosh, who would have guessed that Ghani would flee? I think everyone who dealt with President Ghani knew this guy was a liar. He was a scoundrel. He was corrupt. And that the most likely thing he would do was to depart and save his own life. This was entirely predictable. We didn't constrain them at all. The Biden administration has demonstrated their willingness to break up good plans that the Trump administration had. Think of our southern border where we had a good plan and remain in Mexico. Now thousands and thousands coming across each.
Talaga namang lahat ng nangyayaring kagaguhan ng nangyayari din yung mga nangyayari dito sa Amerika ay talagang napakadaming problema dumarating. Buhat ng naging presidente itong si Biden na ito, buhat ng pumasok itong Democrat na ito. Lahat ng Democrat, wala kang mapapagkatiwalaan. Tuloy po natin.
Think of the work that we had done to deter Vladimir Putin. No, they know how to protect America only from embarrassment to the Biden administration.
Kung iisipin mo, ang buong Democrat talaga, siyang enemy ng Amerika. Isipin niyo yan.
It is outrageous what Kirby said today in this report is based upon things that are just simply not true.
And one of the outrageous things he said that a lot of people are pushing back on is this, and then I'll get your opinion on the other side. This call for one.
And so for all this talk of chaos, I just didn't see it. Not from my perch. At one point during the evacuation,
Tingnan na kung for all the talk of chaos, but nalalaman ninyo, kasunod nito
there was an aircraft taking off full of people, Americans and Afghans alike, every 48 minutes.
Yes,
and not one single mission was missed. So I'm sorry, I just won't buy the whole argument of chaos. It was tough in the first few hours. You would expect it to be. There was nobody at the airport.
Yeah, nobody
certainly
at
no
the
Americans. It took time to get in there.
There you go. There you go. Kita mo ganyan. Nanlaglag sa aeroplano yung tao. Hindi yan nakikita. Hindi kita ni Kirby. Ganyan, kawawalang hinaan ng mga Democrat. Wala ito mga Democrat. Senate, Congress, President, lahat sila. Wala sila, hindi sila makatao. Talagang ganyan, mamamatay tao ito mga Democrat.
Allahu Akbar.
At yung mga naputo dyan, yan, natutuwa sila dito. Pinuto nila ang Democrat. Masaya sila at inalalagyan ng tao. Panoodin. Yan o, yung malapit-lapit o. There you go. Yan, Kirby. Kita
Those
mo yun.
aircraft had people falling off of them, Secretary Pompeo. This thing was a disaster. There are still
And Kirby says he doesn't see anything. They're falling up from the sky. Do they fly?
Afghan heroes who helped us out in that war for years and years, who are stuck in that country and cannot get out, and it's up to private teams to go in and get them out. This was, as Admiral Kirby said, an unmitigated disaster. He prefaced it with that, saying he went on, we had some good things. This was a disaster. That's pretty much.
And all of this, they blame it to Trump. He's out 8 months before this thing happened. I mean, after this thing happened. After.
The consensus.
Trace, the American people and every veteran who served there should be incredibly proud of our 20 years of work there. We saved American lives. But for Kirby today to say that he's somehow proud of the way we departed, that this wasn't an unmitigated disaster, we should just all believe our own eyes. We all saw the video. This was chaotic. 13 Americans killed. They sabotaged a plan that we had put in place that was conditions-based. And we had withdrawn American forces down to about 2,500 uniformed military personnel over months with the approval of the military and the intelligence agencies, and had relative stability inside of Afghanistan. They came in, took the plan that we had, and just botched it. They made a hash of it, and the American people have suffered for it. And frankly, America's standing in the world is continuing to suffer from that today.
Yeah. And sir, they were told again and again, by the generals, do not let go of the Bagram Air Force Base, and they let it go at a time that was pivotal to what happened.
Of course they were, Trace, and I want to get to one more thing. You know, Kirby used the word constrained. I've had a chance only to read the report cursorily. It just came out. There were no constraints. We knew the Taliban. We knew exactly how evil they were. And when they violated the agreement on my watch, we crushed them. General Scotty Miller, amazing man. He and I worked closely together. We made sure that the Taliban didn't attack a single American after the date that we signed that agreement. They came in and somehow acted like the house was on fire so that they could actually execute what President Biden intended back in 2010, a full-scale withdrawal, the embarrassment of America. It is outrageous for them to somehow try and blame anyone but Joe Biden.
Yeah. Secretary Pompeo, thank you for your time, sir.
Yan no, nakita ninyo. Kaya sinabi nga ni Trump doon sa mga Taliban huwag kang papatay ng kahit sino doon dahil alam ko ang bahay mo. Talagang titirahin kita. Kaya kaya nga po itong mga Democrat ang nasa power, yan mayroong war. Katulad nga nangyayaring ito sa China, between China and Taiwan. Dahil ito yung kadahilan ng mga Democrat. Kaya sana naman ay happy yung mga Pilipinong bumoboto sa Democrat. Pero alam mo talagang I hope it doesn't itong war na mangyayari. Sana naman ay hindi matuloy. O sige, marami pa po kayo pakikita sa inyo. Manood kayo. Hanggang dito na po lamang. Ito po si Art.